So the formation lap coming to an end here at Brands Hatch on the Grand Prix circuit. We've taken you through the grid. We've given you the championship points in all of the classes, and we're going to get set for 15 laps of racing for the first time here this weekend, with rounds 28 to look forward to, rounds 29 and 30 on the way this afternoon. I've been joined up in the commentary box for this one by Josh Barrett. And Josh, we've done the building up. We know what to look forward to. I think we're all waiting to see what plays out, and I think all the crowd here at Brands Hatch is looking forward to this one.
Yeah, a huge crowd are all the way around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit in anticipation for the first of 3 Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship races of the day, and so many championships to play out over the course of those 3 races. We've heard from our 2 main championship contenders. The drama already.
De Leon into pit lane.
This is not good news, is it? Daryl De Leon, who qualified on pole at Silverstone, he's into the pit lane from pole position here at Brands Hatch. They were with the bonnet up on the grid, and they're going to do exactly the same down in the pit lane as well. So this is high drama at Brands Hatch, and that is not good news for Daryl De Leon, who gives up pole position here in the final meeting of the season.
You couldn't write this script, because at Silverstone the car was pushed off the grid, not in race 1 but in race 3 of the weekend, with a drive shaft that went. Now he's done the green flag lap, but now for the pit lane. So drama before we've even had a racing lap match.
And we don't even know what the problem is, I'm afraid. He came on the radio. Lack of power was what Daryl De Leon was talking about.
What a shame for Daryl De Leon. A great job he did yesterday in what was a very, very close qualifying session. He's down in the pit lane. If he is a starter, it will be from the back of the grid. So effectively now we have a Napa Racing front row, because where Daryl De Leon would have been, there is now a gap. So that's very much open for the man who sits behind him, Dan Rowbottom, to try and work his way through. So Dan Cammish effectively picks up pole position in round 28, which is not too far away from getting underway. We've got the top 4 drivers now on the grid on soft tyres. 15 laps to look forward to here at Brands Hatch. The green flag waves at the back of the grid. Tom Ingram from 7th, Ash Sutton from 11th. Let's go racing. Red lights on here at Brands Hatch. They go out now, and it's away for round 28. Lots of wheel spin from Dan Cammish. A good start made from the outside of row number 2, which is going to be Tom Chilton on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Already gets across in front of Dan Rowbottom. So we've got a Hyundai up into 2nd position as Dan Rowbottom tries to fight back. To the inside he goes through Paddock Hill Bend. He's going to be on the inside for Druids Corner. He's squeezed slightly on towards the grass, but it's going to be 2nd place for that of Dan Rowbottom. Adam Morgan is going to try and get into the mix as well, as he goes nose to tail with his teammate Tom Chilton. And Jake Hill is on the tail in 5th position, as Tom Ingram is going to be passed possibly round the outside by that of Charles Rainford.
And Ash Sutton's lost places, I think, at the start. There's a Restart Racing car ahead of him. Aidan Moffat got ahead of him as well at the start of the race, so it's not gone to plan, I'm afraid, for Ash Sutton. A very good start, though, from Dan Lloyd. He's gained 6 places off the grid. The Independence Championship lead is up to 9th overall.
He's absolutely flying, isn't he? So we've got side-by-side action now as Tom Ingram tries to go around the outside of the BMW of Jake Hill. He gets the job done, so absolutely fantastic from him. And Jake Hill might have a problem. He's got a left front puncher as he works his way in towards the right-hander of Hawthorn. So 2 BMWs on the opening lap with drama, and Jake Hill is going to crawl his way back to the pit lane as well.
You hit the West Surrey Racing just from bad to absolutely even worse. So horrible time for West Surrey Racing. The 2 cars that started in the top 6, and they're both going to be in the pit lane in a moment, but up towards Stirling's Bend, it's Dan Cammish that leads. Rowbottom is 2nd, Chilton 3rd, and he's the first of 3 Team Virtue cars, because you've got Adam Morgan, then Tom Ingram up to 5th place.
Yep, so already Tom Ingram's got his helping hands ahead of him with Adam Morgan and Tom Chilton, but Ash Sutton, who's a little bit further back, also has his helping hands as well, both of them in the top 2 places in this race. Tom Chilton already looking to make a move in towards Paddock Hill Bend, so the Hyundai seem to have the pace at the minute. They're line astern for 3rd, 4th and 5th place, as Josh said, but is Adam Morgan going to make it easy for Tom Ingram to get his way through? Not at the minute. He's going to have to wait his turn, and all the time Charles Rainford is going to try and work his way through. He sits there in 6th position, has a brief look down towards Graham Hill Bend, and of course we know that Charles Rainford is in the mix for his own championship here this weekend. He wants to try and win the Jack Sears Trophy.
And it's Daryl De Leon, of course, his main rival in that, who is in the pit lane. A change for what is 7th position. Dan Lloyd is on an absolute mission. He's just passed Gordon Shedden for 7th, so the Independence Championship leader has now got a load of non-independent cars between himself and his championship rivals Mikey Doble and Chris Smiley.
Yeah, the reason he might be making up places is on the soft tyre, so those around on medium, the likes of Aidan Moffat, Ash Sutton, Aaron Taylor-Smith and also Gordon Shedden as well.
And into Hawthorn Bend, Chris Smiley round the outside of Mikey Doble for 2nd in the Independence.
Oh, and there goes Rainford as well, down the inside of Ingram. So Rainford has made up a place here, so the BMWs have been quick this weekend in free practice and also in qualifying, as out the pit lane with his change of tyre goes Jake Hill, so he will rejoin, albeit it's going to be a long way off the back of the pack, Alan.
Jake Hill, the front left tyre was down on pressure apparently, and that's why he had to come in.
There you go then. So yeah, we did see that happening round the outside in towards Hawthorne's corner, but Charles Rainford making up moves. Further back, it looks like Aidan Moffat is down the inside of Senna Proctor as well. So BMWs, as we said, quick this weekend. As up front, Tom Chilton now hassling the back of Robo as they work their way again in towards Paddock Hill Bend. He goes for the outside to the inside. He's almost going to get pushed through from Adam Morgan as well. The door is almost shut. There's a bit of boost being used at the same time by Dan Rowbottom. Will he hold on to second place? No, he won't, because Tom Chilton squeezes to the inside line. He forces his way through, and at the same time, Adam Morgan goes to the outside line for Graham Hill Bend, but it's one place lost for the Ford Focus, and briefly through the gravel there for Nick House at the paddock.
And Aidan Moffat spun now, another BMW drama. Aidan Moffat with damage. He's spun at Druids. He's going to rejoin, but it just doesn't get any better.
Adam Morgan down the inside line and makes contact with Dan Rowbottom in towards the left-hander of Surtees, so he ushers him out wide. So that's one Napa Racing Ford Focus, which is now being removed for Tom Ingram. And on the boost again, just higher up the road, is going to be that of Charles Rainford, who's making absolute headway in this race as well. Another man who's on the soft tyre, so on the soft tyre they seem to go quick, and Rainford now gets himself up into third place as he works his way nicely past Adam Morgan.
He's the one car that's upholding the story for West Surrey Racing, the right story, moving up the order, like you say, to Charles Rainford up into third place and putting himself in an extremely strong position, of course, that Jack Sears Trophy Championship as well. So he's got past Adam Morgan after both he and Dan Rowbottom had that incident at Surtees corner. So dropped them both back. Rowbottom's down into sixth place, but it's Dan Camish at lead by about a second from Tom Chilton. Charles Rainford up to third from, I think, was eighth on the grid. So you can say continuing to make really good progress. Can Rainford get any more, I wonder?
There's a lot of leaves out there on the Grand Prix circuit as well, we can see today, so that's going to maybe affect some of the coolant on the cars as well, on the front grills. But for now, as it stands in the championship, where Tom Ingram is ahead of Ash Sutton, is 37 points clear, which means it would go to the next race to be crowned champion provisionally. But for now, Tom Ingram doing what he needs to do. Of course, being on the medium tyre, he's going to be a little bit slower than those around him. But as Ash Sutton said on the grid to Alan Hyde, he does need a little bit of lady luck here today. At the minute, he's not getting that, and he can't quite get onto terms with that of Tom Ingram. As it stands, he's 3 places back. He's got Rowbottom, Lloyd and Shedden ahead of him, but Sutton at least has made up 2 places since the start of this race.
In the independents, it's still Dan Lloyd at lead. Chris Smiley's making progress. He's got past Mikey Doble a couple of laps ago. Now he's up to 11th overall. Lloyd is 7th, Smiley is 11th, and Doble is 14th. They are first, second and third in the independents.
Yep, so keep an eye on that, how that looks in terms of the points as well, as Nick Halstead is about to be passed by, Mikey Doe was about to be passed by Sam Osborne down the inside line. Mikey Doe was going to be hung out to dry here because Josh Cook also gets himself through in towards the right-hander of Westfield. Josh Cook was with dramas yesterday with that car in qualifying, so he's come off the back of the grid. At the end of that previous lap, he was up into 15th place, and now through on Mikey Doble, he gets himself into 14th position. But again, in the independents, as it currently stands, Dan Lloyd now has a 10-point advantage over Mikey Doble as they run in this race.
Leaders up across the line to complete lap 4 of 15. A lot has happened in those first 4 laps of the day here at Brands Hatch, but it's Dan Camish at lead now by 1.5 seconds. He's pulling away from Tom Chilton there in second. Dan Rowbottom is the man on the move. He sets the fastest lap of the race, and now he's on the tail of his teammates' championship rival, Tom Ingram. So battle for 5th, Tom Ingram versus Dan Rowbottom.
Yeah, and Rowbottom might be a little bit upset with what happened between himself and Adam Morgan as he got ushered a little bit wide in towards the left-hander at Surtees. So there might be some revenge and repayment on the way before too much longer. But Rowbottom for now has a small matter of a Tingram to work his way through. So does he go for a move in towards the left-hander on towards the Grand Prix circuit? No is the answer to that one at the minute. So he sits in tow. He'll have a little bit more boost than Tom Ingram as well, because for this first race, your boost is all dependent on where you are in the championship. So for that of Tom Ingram, he only has for this race what's going to be a few laps of boost.
Ash Sutton under pressure. Aaron Taylor-Smith round the outside at Hawthorne Bend, didn't quite work into the corner. We're about out of the corner down towards Westfield. Sutton hanging on in ninth, but he's not really moving forwards as he would have liked, Ash Sutton. In fact, he's under all kinds of pressure from Aaron Taylor-Smith in the Toyota.
Certainly is, yep. So round the back of the circuit they go. Ash Sutton under pressure from Aaron Taylor-Smith, who has not been a race winner so far this year. We have had 12 different winners across the course of a very competitive BTCC season, but can we get a few more newbies to the top step of the podium across the course of this weekend? As it currently stands, Dan Camish out front would be looking for a third victory of the 2025 season, but in that battle we've been describing between Sutton, Taylor-Smith and Smiley might be on for a move here, because again he gets very close to the back of Aaron Taylor-Smith in towards Paddock Hill Bend. He's going to try and do the cut back through the corner. Can he get the run up towards Druids? He gets on the boost, and Smiley will have the inside line, and he should have the place away as well. So that's going to be a nice move that sees now Chris Smiley into the top 10 as Ash Sutton runs slightly wide through the exit of Druids there.
Yeah, he's now under pressure from the rapid Chris Smiley, who's been gaining position. Smiley on the soft tyres, as is his teammate Lloyd. As Chris Smiley was describing this morning, it's sort of out of his control, the Independence Championship. He's up the inside of Ash Sutton. They're extremely close as they turn their way through the left-hander at 30s. The rear bumper of Ash Sutton's car must be millimetres away from the front bumper of Chris Smiley's car, but Smiley is on a charge. It's looking unlikely to me, Matt, that Ash Sutton's going to be able to keep Chris Smiley behind him for the next 10 laps.
Oh, exactly, and of course with Chris Smiley being on that soft tyre as well, it's almost when you're on the medium tyre, you've got to do as best a job as you can to make sure you don't let as many soft tyre runners through, but of course be the best of the medium runners as well, which currently is not that of Ash Sutton, because up there towards the top 5 is the first of our medium runners, which is Tom Ingram.
Sutton's run wide 2 or 3 times on this lap, hasn't he? Just makes you wonder if something's not quite right with the Napa Racing Ford Focus at this point of the race. He's falling away from the car of Gordon Shedden ahead, who's on those same medium tyres as Ash Sutton, and now Sutton's under all kinds of pressure, originally from Aaron Taylor-Smith, now from Chris Smiley, as they come through to complete another lap. Meanwhile, the lead gap had come right down. It was 1.5 seconds a couple of laps ago, just half a second between Dan Camish and Tom Chilton, and Charles Rainford is catching them both. He's just set the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 30.068 for Charles Rainford. Behind, Ash Sutton's got Smiley up the inside into Druids at absolutely no Total again, Matt. Yeah,
and he doesn't really want to be fighting this, does he? But he knows he needs as many places as possible. He needs as many points as possible for his championship to try and close down on Tom Ingram. So he's got this little matter of Chris Smiley to try and defend from. And interesting you talk about slightly running wide for Ash Sutton. Well, he did speak yesterday, didn't he, after qualifying, about the tyres just didn't seem to be there. From what was the first part of qualifying to the second part, the pace did drop away, and he said he'd have to go away and do some evaluating, but he wasn't happy with what the tyres were delivering, and maybe again today the tyres are not quite what he needs.
Well, he called it an internal problem yesterday, this morning, didn't he, Ash Sutton, which I'm not going into detail so much, but Aidan Moffat and West Surrey Racing are going to be for the pit lane because there's a mechanical black and orange flag for Aidan Moffat. We saw the damage after the incident he had at Druids, so Aidan Moffat for the pit lane, I suspect. Meanwhile, for 7th place, Dan Lloyd has been gaining positions, all of a sudden under pressure. Gordon Shedden is right on his tail, and then there's that gap back to Ash Sutton, who has got another car in this train now. You've got Smiley and Taylor-Smith, and Senna Proctor has joined the cars in front of him.
Yeah, and Sutton at the minute is 1.5 seconds adrift of Gordon Shedden, so he's losing touch to that car ahead, who is about to make a move possibly on Dan Lloyd for what's going to be 7th position now as he works his way in towards Paddock Hill Bend. It's a nice move down the inside line for Flash Gordon. Gordon Shedden goes through on the boost at the same time as well, and he gets a nice move done there on that of Dan Lloyd. So a place gained for the Toyota Gazoo Corolla, which, as we said again this weekend, have just kind of come into their own, haven't they? They've done well. Gordon Shedden, in his first year back in the BTCC, has done fairly good towards the end of the season, and of course Josh Cook has been drafted into one of those other cars, and Josh Cook is still making progress actually, considering he's on a medium tyre. He's come from the back of the grid up into 13th place.
And look at his lap time, he's quicker than Tom Ingram on a medium tyre, so just like we saw at Silverstone, Josh Cook is flying on the harder of the tyres. Aidan Moffat's been in and out of the pits for that mechanical flag. And Mikey Doble is losing more positions, I think, isn't he? Sam Osborne has gone through into 14th, but for Doble, he's still 3rd in the independents, so still scoring the points for 3rd position in the class. Dan Lloyd is the leading independents, although Chris Smiley is getting closer and closer to him. Just a couple of seconds now between our top 2 within the independents category. And we are about to complete lap number 8 of 15, moving into the second half of the race. It's still Dan Cammish that leads, but that lead he had a few laps ago certainly isn't the case anymore, with Tom Chilton, Charles Rainford and Adam Morgan all in a queue heading up towards Paddock Hill Bend.
Yep, now what's the plan going to be for Napa Racing? Of course, we know they're going to try and go for the Constructors and Teams Championship. Of course, Dan is also in his own battle to try and get third place in the championship up against Dan Rowbottom, his teammate, and also Jake Hill. But of course, there's a small matter of trying to win a championship for the overall title. So does Dan Cammish play canny here? Can he help out the likes of Ash Sutton? Probably not in this race, unfortunately, because as we said, Ash Sutton is too far back and he's got his own battle to deal with in terms of Chris Smiley, so that's not too good at the minute. Meantime, we've got a good battle going on for 11th place now. This is for the medium tyre battle of what's going to be Aaron Taylor-Smith and Senna Proctor. Just up the road of that, Ash Sutton is still trying to defend from Chris Smiley, and with all that defending, is now bringing those next two cars I just mentioned into the equation as well. So we've got a quartet all going on for 9th on backwards, and Ash Sutton, he is a champion, a 4-time champion, so I think it's fair to say, Josh, he knows how to defend.
Yes, and he's proving that, because there's a few laps ago it looked almost sure that Chris Smiley would go ahead of him, but now Ash Sutton's pulled away from Smiley under pressure from two Toyotas, not just Aaron Taylor-Smith but Josh Cook too, because Josh Cook is up to 12th. He's past Senna Proctor, so this is continuing to be great progress from Josh Cook, building his day from race 1 of the weekend, and I think more progress could be made by Josh Cook yet.
Yeah, and this is the Josh Cook we're used to seeing, isn't it? We've missed this throughout the course of this year, really. So all of a sudden, Josh Cook in this final meeting of the year might just have his mojo back now. So he pushes on to try and get himself a little bit higher inside the top 10. But the leaders go through 4 together, with Cammish ahead of Chilton, Rainford ahead of Morgan, and those 4 at the minute separated by just under 2 seconds as it currently stands. Then we've got the next train being led by Tom Ingram. He's still the first of our medium tyre runners, and he still at the minute keeps at bay a soft tyre runner, which is that of Dan Rowbottom. But you can be assured that Dan Rowbottom would want to try and take that place away before the end, mainly to try and help his third place in the championship, but also maybe to help out his teammate Ash Sutton, who's still a little bit further back. The day, unfortunately, for Aidan Moffat goes from bad to worse. He's just received a drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Yes, so another trip down the pit lane for Aidan Moffat. Hopefully he'll abide to the speed limit this time through, but even so, it's not going to make that much difference to his race result after the early appearance in the pit lane with that mechanical warning flag. So we're on lap 10 of 15. Dan Cammish's lead starting to be extended again over Tom Chilton. But maybe Charles Rainford and Adam Morgan the ones to watch, because they've got more boost to use over the remaining laps of round 28 of the championship, and that's starting to show on this lap 10 of the race, because Tom Chilton coming under increasing pressure from Rainford. Rainford, if it stays as it is, will take the lead of the Jack Sears Trophy heading into the final 2 rounds of the championship, but more positions overall could come. He has a look down the inside of Tom Chilton going in towards Clearways and Clark Curve. He's flashing his lights of the car ahead, Mark.
Yeah, this is looking like a very racy Charles Rainford, and again he's on the boost towards the end of the lap, so he thinks about the outside line in towards Paddock Hill Bend. 3-time podium sitter so far this year for Charles. Again, he looks for the under-over as he works his way up towards the right-hander of Druids, but Tom Chilton for now in the Team Virtue Hyundai has that covered, and for Charles Rainford he's got a little bit of a sandwich going on here. He's got one Hyundai ahead of him, he's got one behind as well, but that's not going to deter him from trying to have a look down towards Graham Hill Bend. Again, he gets a nice cut back as Tom Chilton gets a bit wiggly on the exit of the corner. That might just allow the door to be open from Adam Morgan, which it does. So Charles Rainford lets him go, and now we've got 2 Team Virtue Hyundais onto the podium. 1 in second, 1 in third, and Charles Rainford gets run out wide at Surtees corner. So more argy-bargy coming from Adam Morgan. That's the second time he's run out a car wide there in this race. This time it was Charles Rainford, unfortunately.
Yeah, Charles Rainford's now got to start thinking perhaps about that Jack Sears Trophy Championship with his rival Darrell de Leon's not going to score any points. He doesn't want to get involved in an instant. It got very close there as the Team Virtue cars almost ganged up on Charles Rainford, and he lost that position. But he's still going. He's still there in 4th position. He's still the leader in the JST. So that means maximum points could be coming his way out of this race. Within that division at the very least, but it's still Dan Cammish that leads as he heads up toward Clearways Corner for the 11th time in this race. That extended margin now over Tom Chilton in second, Adam Morgan up to third. Fourth is Charles Rainford. Tom Ingram, he's still there in fifth position. He's still got that gap over Dan Rowbottom. So I think for Tom Ingram fans, this is going to plan at this point of the weekend. It's side by side, though. Behind him is Gordon Shedden up the outside of Dan Rowbottom in towards Paddock Hill Bend, then dives back to the inside. Can't go through, though. Rowbottom still in sixth place. But even better news for Tom Ingram. If these two start battling, he's got even less to worry about from behind.
Yeah, and it might be good news for those behind, because that might then bring the gap down. But for now, Shedden goes on the attack of Dan Rowbottom, who's slightly wide through Druids on that occasion, but manages to hold on to the place as it currently stands.
Ash Sutton has got Chris Smiley alongside him, heading down towards Graham Hill Bend. Sutton on the inside, hangs on, runs a little wide, so Smiley on the boost will try to challenge again down the Cooper Straight up towards 30s. He's fully alongside. Chris Smiley's on the inside, he locks a brake, but he is on the inside the better line, so it looks to me as if Chris Smiley might have gained the place, but Ash Sutton's going to fight back.
Yeah, it's going to be a fighter, isn't he, in this championship. He's not going to give it away, but with Smiley on the boost on this lap, Sutton not being on that boost, he has to let him go. So finally the job is done for Chris Smiley. He had a few more laps, of course, before this race of boost. He still has more laps in this one as well, but at the end of it, Sutton might just be in an advantageous position to then have more boost on the next lap. So far, Sutton has used none of his 2 laps across this race. Tom Ingram, who only had 1 lap of boost for this race, has not used that either. So again, the championship contenders pretty much saving it until the end of this race, with what's going to be now 3 laps to go for Dan Cammish as he works his way towards the line for the 12th time of asking, and the battle between Smiley and Sutton does continue. Off of the Grand Prix circuit they come once again. This is for 9th and 10th place, and I've got then the 2 Toyotas right behind them as well. As further up the road, Shedden had another brief look at the back of Dan Rowbottom in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Doesn't quite come off, and Sutton fights back on Smiley down the inside line at Paddock Hill Bend as well. They're going to be side by side through the corner, both of them on the green flashing light, as you can see on the side of the car. So they draw themselves alongside each other, and Sutton will, for now, be back through, but he has the outside for the next corner, which is going to be the line that Smiley has, and he'll keep the place for now.
Yeah, this battle's been going for a whole lap, basically, hasn't it? This is where it all started 1 lap ago, but Sutton on the boost, looking very racy to try and get this position back from Chris Smiley, but Smiley up into 9th position, and Sutton's got to be aware there are 2 cars further behind. That would really change the championship picture if he loses any more positions, with Aaron Taylor-Smith and Josh Cook in tow in those Toyotas. But it looks like he's held on to that 10th position for now. Ash Sutton up in 9th position, Chris Smiley.
Is indeed. So off to the back of the circuit they go once again through Hawthorns and Westfield. Top three will be on their way towards the completion of another lap very shortly. And bear in mind, the top 3 from this race do have to run the harder tyre for race number 2. So the beneficiary could be Charles Rainford as it currently stands, the man who won on the Indy circuit here at Brands Hatch back in May. It was a clean sweep actually for BMW that weekend, with wins for De Leon, for Rainford, and also for Jake Hill on his local circuit. It's going to be a bit of a hard drive back this weekend for Jake, who runs down in 19th position as it currently stands. But the leaders go through now onto lap number 14, as the fight for third place is now starting to evolve between Tom Chilton and Adam Morgan. Tom Chilton currently has it as they work their way in towards Druids, and Adam Morgan, the car behind, has 1 extra lap of boost left within this race at the minute. Yeah,
so absolutely together, the 2 teammates at Team Virtue. And can Adam Morgan do anything about Tom Chilton? He's looking quicker, he's got that extra boost to use as well. So could this be the lap for Adam Morgan to charge up to 2nd position? He's going to give it a good go, I suspect. Out of 30s they come, the 2 teammates. You imagine, Matt, as their teammates, they might play a little bit more friendly than if it was someone else.
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? But looking at what Adam Morgan's done so far in this race, he might do, for a 3rd time, a bit of pushing out wide in towards 30s. But we'll see if that comes to anything on the final lap of the race, which is not too far away. Chris Smiley is about to fight back on Ash Sutton down towards the right-hander of Hawthorns, and the 2 Toyota Gazoo Corolla is about to get into the mix, as well as Josh Cook tries to go to the inside of his teammate Aaron Taylor-Smith. So the progress continues from Josh Cook from the back of the grid. He finally gets himself through. He's got a little bit more boost to use as well, and they're not too far up the road from the other Team Virtue Hyundai of Senna Proctor as well. So keep yourselves eyes affixed to that battle, because I think that's going to go all the way to the checker flag.
And it was a mistake from Chris Smiley that allowed Ash Sutton through at Graham Hill Bend on this lap. He got very sideways through Graham Hill Bend. Ash Sutton did the pass on the grass to get through on the way up towards 30's corner. So up to 9th place for Ash Sutton.
Lead us through then for the final time. Dan Cammish on his way through Paddock Hill Bend. The gap on that lap was down slightly. 1.2 seconds now between the top two. But for Dan Cammish, that could be very healthy, as we said, in terms of what he needs to take third place away in the championship. As it currently stands, he would be there ahead of Jake Hill by what seems to be 25 points, and a further 4 points back from that as it stands on these points is going to be Dan Rowbottom. But what a way to start the day for Dan Cammish. Heads on to the Grand Prix circuit for the final time, and the fight for the final step on the podium is still all to play for.
Yeah, that's right. And it is this lap where Morgan has got the boost advantage, because Tom Chilton used his boost one lap ago. So can Adam Morgan use that to his advantage and gain the position on the Grand Prix loop for this 15th and final time? Well, through Hawthorns, it's still Tom Chilton ahead, so he's running out of time, Adam Morgan. He's had some second places this year, not been on the third step of the podium this year for Adam Morgan, so that might come. But what about for Tom Ingram? His race, in some ways, has been a bit boring. We haven't spoken about him very much, but that is how you win championships. Tom Ingram in 5th place.
And in a way, he stayed out of trouble, which is all he needs to do today. With a 33-point lead coming into this weekend, he just needs to finish with some good, solid points. That's what's going to happen. But for Dan Cammish, let's give him a third win of the season, because round 28 of the Quick Fit British Touring Car Championship is going to be won by Napa Racing, and it's going to be Dan Cammish who takes the spoils here on the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Second place goes the way of the first of our Team Virtue Hyundais. That's going to be Tom Chilton ahead of Adam Morgan on the podium once again this year. Giles Rainford gets home as the first BMW and will be in a very handy position as we go into race number 2. He'll be a man who potentially will be starting on that soft tyre, with the top 3 having to go to the medium tyre for race number 2 of the weekend. 5th place goes the way of our championship leader, which is Tom Ingram. So a nice drive home from him, which now gives him a 37-point advantage in the championship, with still what's going to be 44 points on offer for race 2 and race 3.
But on the other side of that story, Napa Racing UK have extended their lead in the championship in the manufacturer constructors points and in the team points as well over Team Virtue / Hyundai. They've both came into the weekend very close, but with that good result for Dan Cammish in particular, Napa Racing just extending their advantage.
Indeed so, yep. We'll have a look at all the independence ramifications and the Jack Sears Trophy once we get through the classification of this race. But for 6th place it was number 32, which is Dan Rowbottom. 7th place goes the way of number 52, which is Gordon Shedden. 8th place then to Dan Lloyd, who also picks up the victory within the independence part of this race. So some good solid points to extend his margin in the Independence Trophy as well. 9th place goes to the man second in the championship. So Ash Sutton did make up a couple of places, but unfortunately not enough to get ahead of Tom Ingram. So that gap between himself and the championship leader does extend. For 10th place it goes the way of number 22, which is Chris Smiley. He picks up 2nd place within the Independence Trophy. Behind that it's going to be 11th place. What a sterling drive it was. Josh Cook back to the man that we have known for many, many years. It hasn't been the best of seasons after One Motorsport decided not to take part in the rest of the season prior to Knock Hill. And since then, Josh Cook has had a man who's found a new home with Toyota Gazoo for the rest of this year. But we'll see what Josh Cook comes up with in terms of plans for 2026. Behind him, we've got 12th place for Aaron Taylor-Smith, 13th place for Senna Proctor, 14th place, and maybe a little bit more was expected for Mikey Doble, especially on the soft tyre, but for him it was there, and also 3rd within the independents. Then we had Sam Osborne through in 15th place with the final point to be scored in race number 1. 16th place Dexter Patterson, 17th place then for what's going to be Max Buxton. Nicholas Hamilton, Jake Hill and Aidan Moffat with those problems come through in 19th and 20th place. Nick Halstead in 21st, and Daryl De Leon was the man who didn't make it out for that race, which was a real shame after qualifying yesterday so well on pole position. Gremlins once again coming back to that BMW, and he'll be hoping for a slightly rejuvenated race 2 and race 3 of the weekend. But for Dan Cammish, 1.2 seconds clear in the end, and as I said, that does him very well in terms of 3rd place in the championship.